Okay, what's going on, guys, and welcome to a brand new episode of Energized. Ross, it's fight week.
It's fight week, baby. It's fight week. Can you believe it?
How long?
UFC 252.
How long were you
Daniel
sitting?
Cormier versus Stipe Miocic.
How long were you sitting there with that on?
Man, I woke up with this glove on this morning.
Yeah, you wear it every day. But if you are new to the Energized show, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and make sure to hit that bell because we're here every week.
Smash that subscribe button.
That's it. Who actually signed that glove, by the way? For people, people
Sage Norco, Cynthia Calvel, Joseph Benavidez, Roy Faber. Not bad, like.
Northput. But Ross, we have some fight news to go over first before we do go into this weekend's UFC 242.
We do indeed.
Well, we should probably start from last weekend's main event in the UFC. And it was headlined by Derek Lewis and Alexei Miocic. Derek Lewis won by TKO. Ross, take it away.
Yeah, Derek Lewis. Miocic did well in the first round, but Derek Lewis came out in the second round, did a flying knee with like a right hand, and that's all she wrote. Derek Lewis again did one of his infamous post-fight interviews. He was getting interviewed by, I think it was Paul Felder at the time, and he was like, "I need to take a shit," and they were like, "Oh shit, are we live?" Very Derek Lewis. He's an absolute character. He says there's only 3 people in that UFC heavyweight division that make sense for him next: Curtis Blades, Francis Ngannou, or Alistair Overeem. Baz, out of those 3 opponents, who do you want to see Derek Lewis fight next?
I think Overeem. Keep it standing.
Yeah, I do like the Overeem fight. I think almost divisionally, I think the Curtis Blades fight probably makes the most sense. But I actually want to see him fight Ngannou again. Because I don't believe if they fought again, it will be the exact same way it happened last time with very little interaction.
I know, but like, it was so boring last time that
Yeah, but I don't think they could do 2 boring fights in a row.
if they have it in the Apex, though,
Yeah,
there's no running away.
Smaller cage.
Smaller cage. But like the Overeem one, like if I was Derek Lewis right now, I'd be like, I should have the win over Ngannou, so I don't need to do that again.
Yeah, true.
And if you fight Curtis Blades, he's just going to get taken down the ground. So the Overeem keeps them both standing, and if Overeem wants another run at the belt, which would be his like 5th run at the belt, and possibly last, I think this is the fight. That's the fight to make.
Yeah, I do like the Overeem fight, and I think it's actually winnable for both, if that makes sense. I feel like Curtis Blades would definitely, unless he gets knocked out in the first 50 seconds, I think Curtis Blades would win that fight, as opposed to the Overeem fight. Overeem could try and take him down and finish him on the ground. Overeem also has good enough stand-up. He could keep Derek Lewis at a distance, and Derek Lewis is just going to run around and try and find that chin. And if he does find Overeem's chin, that's probably all she wrote for Overeem.
Yeah, it's a good notch to get for both guys to move on to potentially take on this weekend's winner. But
just looking at that main event, Baz, see Ollie Nano came in and weighing in at 225 pounds for that fight. Did I see him drop down to light heavyweight?
Who knows? Like, he is like what, 40?
Yeah, absolute Russian murderer.
Harsh, man.
I was actually looking at his he's got like 40 submission wins or whatever it is. Yeah. Maybe even 50 submission wins, who knows. It was showing like each submission and like how many times he's got them and all that. It was like 18 Ezekiel chokes, 13 Air Nate. I was like, oh my god, like this guy's record on submissions is actually frightening.
What age was he when he got into the UFC though?
I don't know, it must have been 35, I'd say. Yeah, I'd say he's been in the UFC a solid 7 years.
He comes across as one of them people that was never young. He was just always this age. But Ross, our mate Chris Weidman got a win over the weekend as well. A lot of people weren't very impressed with the win, but a win's a win, especially for Chris Weidman. He'd take any win to like build his platform up again.
Yeah, well, I do think confidence is the issue with Chris Weidman these days, and the confidence of him getting back in that win column is absolutely massive. Chris Weidman, for the first time probably since maybe before the Mark Munoz fight, which like people probably don't even remember that when that was. Fought was unranked going into a fight, so he went in there unranked, and he beat that Russian cat Akhmedov. And look, was the most impressive win of all time? Absolutely not. But I think it puts him right back in to fight someone in the top 10. And that's Chris Weidman's problem. I mean, he never got that tune-up fight. He was always having to fight the best in the world. Then he sort of had that semi-tune-up fight. And now he's probably going to get back in there, one of the best in the world.
That's what happens when you have a big name, Ross, beating Anderson Silva twice in a row. But you did put a post out there the other day with Chris Weidman, your best mate.
Yeah.
What sort of reaction did you get overall after like getting the feedback? Like, who do the fans want to see him fight next? Because him versus Darren Till would be interesting.
Yeah, that the sort of consensus was him versus Darren Till, or him versus Luke Rockhold, because Rockhold's coming out of retirement, and Rockhold Weidman too. So that they were sort of the two ones that were talked about most. I think I'd almost prefer the Darren Till fight for him, just because I feel like Rockhold is actually sort of that slight bit better than him on the ground. Now, obviously, Weidman's wrestling is actually better, but I think on the ground as a whole, I think Rockhold's slightly better. I think Rockhold's also better on the feet, so I think he actually has a better chance of beating Darren Till. So I'd like to see for Chris Weidman's career for him to fight Darren Till.
That would be very interesting just to see how good Darren Till will get on, trying to keep Weidman from taking him down. That would just be very interesting to see, wouldn't it? And
yeah,
then like
no one's actually tried to absolute wrestle the fuck out of Darren Till. Like even when Woodley fought him, Woodley knocked him down and then like followed him down to the ground. No one's actually tried to just wrestle him.
It'd be a good win for Darren Till to get as well, being like, right, beat the former champ as well.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of upside to for both people.
Yeah. Also on the card, Darren Stewart got a performance of the night win. His last fight was actually on a Cage Warriors fight, and I think he lost that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Ross, there was also Bellator on over the weekend, and Michael Chandler defeated Benson Henderson for the second time in very impressive fashion. Going into the fight, he was in his last fight of his contract for Bellator. He's almost Mr. Bellator. Do you agree before I ask you get into any more?
Yeah, well, I feel like he's been with Bellator basically his entire professional career. Well, any fight that's meant anything. He seems to be someone who never had their head turned as well. It seems to be he was the loyalest person Bellator have ever had. And now he's after letting his contract run out. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes next.
Ross, he's done it all Bellator. He's in the lightweight division. Does he now be like, right, UFC, let's give it a go? I know he's a bit older, but there's some serious matchups there for him.
What age is he now? About 36? Give or take.
Well, carry on anyway. I'll look it up. But
yeah. So the way I look at Michael Chandler has three options. Number one, he can re-sign with Bellator and fight Pitbull for the lightweight belt. Number two, this is the one I think he's going to go for. He goes to ONE FC. ONE FC have an awful lot of cash, and he goes and he fights Eddie Alvarez in a trilogy.
Okay.
And number three is he comes to the UFC. I said the UFC might give him that tiny bit more money than Bellator have, but UFC is going to try and put him in there with Murderer's Row, and they're going to try and have him go 0-3 in the UFC. And they can say the Bellator guys are not as good as the UFC guys. I could see him being matched up against someone like Tony Ferguson in his first outing.
Jesus. Do you know what? I guess, like, he's 34, by the way. I just looked it up. I didn't want to stop your flow. But Joe would have been a brilliant fight, but obviously we're not going to get it now.
What?
Gaethje versus Chandler.
Yeah, I'd be all about that, because sort of when Gaethje was the World Series of Fighting champion and then Chandler was the Bellator champion, there was that sort of talk of who's the best lightweight outside the UFC, and then that was almost like a fantasy matchup.
Yeah. Obviously in his press conference, post-fight press conference, he was saying that he'd destroy Conor McGregor. I don't really see that fight happening, but putting him in against some of them heads in the top 10 in the UFC would be something serious. And Dana White does like to put the former Bellator people in at the top.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah, Robbie Lawler versus Ben Askren. But that Tony Ferguson, like, I think that could be the one.
Yeah,
Does he want? Is that the fight he wants though? Chandler.
Who knows? Maybe you could fight Dustin Poirier. I actually like his chances against majority of the top 10, but it's when you get to that sort of top 3 or 4 people, like your Conor McGregor, Khabib, Poirier, Ferguson, you're on Gaethje. Like, I don't fancy his chances in there. He goes in the underdog against those guys.
Poirier or Ferguson? Do you think he'll get a choice? Do you think if Dana White's like, here, we want to pay you this?
No, I think he's like, this year fighting. It's like you versus Tony Ferguson.
So what we are going to be led to believe now is if he does not sign with the UFC, it's because he was offered Tony Ferguson and he turned it down.
No, if he signs with ONE FC, they're opening up the checkbook and they're doing the Eddie Alvarez trilogy.
If you had to rank them, is he going to, like, what percentage will he go to the UFC, stay with Bellator, or go to ONE FC?
I think 60% chance he goes to ONE FC. I'd say 25% chance he goes to the UFC, and a 15% chance he stays with Bellator.
So you're 100% not convinced he's going straight to the UFC. Well, it's just interesting to bring up. But yeah, also on that card, Matt Mitrione lost to Timothy Johnson. Like, Matt Mitrione, I don't know what his buzz is. He doesn't really seem interested. I think he's only there to get a paycheck once a year.
You know, he's got such potential as well. So it's almost upsetting to see him just not use it.
He does. He's so agile and stuff, and then especially the way he beat Fedor as well. Just that was an unbelievable. That was a crazy fight. But Adam Bartz fought at 150 catch weight, 150 pounds catch weight fight. He won as well. He's 15-1, so that's someone definitely keep an eye out for. But Ross, this weekend it's UFC 252.
It's time.
If you haven't, make sure to subscribe. Ross, UFC 252. It's being headlined by Stipe Miocic against Daniel Cormier for the 3rd time. Daniel Cormier won the first time. Stipe Miocic won the 2nd time, and it's all gone down trilogy. Daniel Cormier is meant to retire after this fight. There is talks of Miocic retiring after this fight. But where do you want to start in the card with this, Ross?
We might as well start and kick things off. We'll go down towards the bottom, because one person who we're going to see, who I'm excited to see him fighting this card, is Gilbert Burns' little brother, Herbert Burns. Herbie, as I call him. I think he looks like a massive prospect down at featherweight. I'm very excited to see him fight. I expect him to get the win there. Other than that, the only other prelim fight I'm looking forward to is Jim Miller. This is Jim Miller's 35th UFC fight. What a man. He's an absolute legend. He won 35. His last fight. Huh?
35.
Yeah, fights in the UFC. Isn't that mad?
How many times do you think he's changed his entrance music?
I think he comes out the same song every time, you know?
We'll have to get him on and ask him that.
He won his last fight against... He's actually 3-1 his last 4 fights. He's beaten Roosevelt Roberts and Clay Guida in those last 4 fights. So he's looking good, but Vince from Hell Pichel, your mate Basmo, he also beat Roosevelt Roberts in his last fight. That must be very random to have both beaten the same fella in your last fight going into your next fight. But I don't know. He's lost by an arm triangle before to Gregor Gillespie. Now, we know Gregor Gillespie is top of the range lightweight prospect. So I just think the fact that Vince has been submitted before makes me favour Jim Miller.
I'd agree with you there, Ross. Also in the bantamweight division, John Dodson is taking on Merab Dvalishvili.
Yeah, I'm not really overly blown away by this fight, to be honest, to kick off the main card. John Dodson's always in a fun fight, but his days as a title challenger are probably in the past, if we're really honest about it. Dvalishvili, on the other hand, he's won his last 4 fights in the UFC. However, if you want to call a spade, they're all absolute decisions. So, as Conor McGregor would call him, a decision merchant. So, who knows? I expect another decision here. Both guys are hard to put away. If I had to pick someone, I'd pick Dvalishvili by split decision. I feel like Johnson's always in a controversial decision.
Yeah, John Dodson, he seems undersized for bantamweight as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he really is a flyweight. And I don't think he should try his hand back at flyweight now. with Figueroa as champ. I think that's like an interesting style matchup.
Figueroa, by the way, taking on
Cody Garbrandt.
That's savage.
Yeah, that's a great fight.
What's your thoughts on that,
make flyweight relevant again.
Yeah, but what do you think of that? Like, I saw that and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that's a brilliant fight to have. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what Cody looks like at 125. Figueroa looks like an absolute vicious killer in there. And I think that was always Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson's problem. No one actually feared him. He was like so nice that when he was beating people, it was really like, sorry, I had to do that to you, man, but I had to kick your ass. And then that was it. There was something like, he was almost like too likable that it wasn't, you weren't dying to watch him. As opposed to Figueroa was like violence personified.
Yeah.
Everything's thrown with bad intentions.
Yeah. Like, well, like, I know first of all it's going to be difficult for both men to make it to 125 pounds. But what's your early prediction for that fight, Ross?
I like Figueroa by knockout. I think, like we saw when Dillashaw went down to 125 pounds, even using the EPO, I think draining that extra bit of water weight out of your body, I think makes you more susceptible to the knockout.
Yeah, especially he's been knocked out 3 of his last 4 fights as well. I was thinking Figueroa as well, but I can't wait to see that fight anyway, because if Cody wins again, he's all of a sudden a star again, really. But,
yeah, and you have Valentina Shevchenko on that card as well, defending her flyweight belt against Jennifer Moya, who just beat Joanne Calderwood there. So it's an all flyweight affair at UFC 255.
Yeah, but also on this card, Junior Dos Santos has taken Jairzinho Rozenstruik in the heavyweight division. This is obviously on the card just in case Miocic or Cormier gets sick and can't fight. Touch wood, that doesn't happen. Or else this video is totally irrelevant. But Ross, Junior Dos Santos seems to be coming back a bit. Rozenstruik's coming off a devastating KO loss to Francis Ngannou. What are you expecting here?
Yeah, well, both these guys are coming in off losses. JDS lost to Blades and previously lost to Ngannou, but he looks in very good physical shape. I think it's the best shape I've ever seen him in from a physical standpoint. He looks very jacked. Rozenstruik got absolutely murdered by Ngannou in his last fight, but again, most people do. It's a bit of a tough one. I think this one's going to be played out on the feet. Junior Dos Santos has excellent boxing from a technical standpoint, and obviously Rozenstruik has that kickboxing background. I think Rozenstruik is going to win by knockout. I think he's going to eventually find JDS's chin.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah. And that breaks my heart because JDS is like one of my favorite fighters.
I know. I think you need to retire the glove there, man. But yeah, I actually think JDS is going to win this one. I know it's in a close. It's more smaller octagon, but I just see JDS winning this fight. I'm not sure why. Maybe the Rozenstruik come back in off that KO loss.
You know what I'm actually looking at here, right? I have JDS's record in front of me, right? And he's beaten Tai Tuivasa, Derek Lewis, Lagoy Ivanov, Ben Rothwell, right? And also Mark Hunt. Like, they're in his last sort of 5-10 fights.
Yeah.
I'm looking going. They're sort of like dad body, and the people he's like lost to are like Stipe Miocic, Alistair Overeem, Ngannou, and Curtis Blades. Like the guys who are like the fitter guys. I'd more consider Rozenstruik in sort of a dad bod era than I would, jacked muscle man.
No, I'd say Rozenstruik's more jacked than.
I don't know.
What would you say Dos Santos is?
Well, now he's jacked, but like I always thought he was sort of lighter on the feet. If that makes sense. I
think Rozenstruik's a bit undersized in this division. Well, that could have been just going up against Ngannou, but Dos Santos is clearly a heavyweight. I don't think Rozenstruik's a definite heavyweight, but yeah, well, you're going Rozenstruik, I'm going Dos Santos, but
I don't think he's definitely heavyweight. I always thought I'm pretty sure he like tips the scales at 250. You know?
Does he? It could have been just the way he was going up against
Ngannou.
He just didn't look as big, but who does? I remember
well, maybe that's why I think he's like slightly chubbier than he is, because like when you stand next to Ngannou, like you're definitely going to look the less physically imposing.
Yeah, for the people that don't know, when Ross actually got that glove, Francis Ngannou walked by, and it was like a total eclipse. Like the moon, the sun was blocked by Ngannou. It was, and so we were afraid to ask him for a photo.
I feel like I should do something with this glove, but I don't really know what I'm actually meant to do about it.
Yeah, but like Ross, one of the main reasons everyone's going to be paying for the pay-per-view this weekend is obviously the return of your best mate, Sean O'Malley. He's taking on Marlon Vera in the bantamweight division. Sean O'Malley coming off one of the best knockouts we've seen since COVID, and he's just an absolute star, Ross. What can we say about Sean O'Malley here?
He really, really is. Funny enough, he's after dyeing his hair the Ecuador flag colours, and his opponent Marlon Vera is from Ecuador. Sean O'Malley is one of the most graceful fighters, I would say, that we've seen in the UFC in a very, very long time. His knockout of Eddie Wineland was absolutely spectacular, and I think he's coming in and he's looking to do something very, very similar to Marlon Vera. Now, Marlon Vera is not an easy man to put away. He's actually never been knocked out and he's never been submitted. So this is that step up in competition that Sean O'Malley is looking for.
Yeah, is Marlon Vera's won 6 of the last 7 fights in the UFC? Is that what the record is?
I don't. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. He's won 5 of his last 6.
5 of his last 6, and he's still not ranked.
Yeah, but he hasn't actually like the times he's actually fought sort of opponents with better names. Like he fought John Lineker, he fought Douglas Silva DeAndre, he fought Song Yudong. He actually lost. So anytime he's come up against a notable opponent, he hasn't got the win.
Yeah.
But he himself, on the other hand, is a finisher. Out of those last 5 wins, he finished all his opponents.
It's just when you look at Sean O'Malley, you're like, this fella's a superstar. Everything from the way he dyes his hair, even his dog's hair is dyed as well. It's just so captivating. Like when I'm watching Embedded, I fast forward to this part, like you're just like, what's he going to do next? And everything he does is so interesting. It literally is Conor McGregor 2.0. It's obviously Sean O'Malley. The Sugar Show is totally different, but it's just that same attraction to greatness. It's just he has it all in abundance.
Yeah, you do get that feel of superstar of him.
Yeah. What else is it, Ross? Like, I mean, even when we interviewed him, you were like so excited.
I think it's just knowing that you're talking to someone who's going to achieve so much. His merch sells out so fast, and he seems to almost have a nonchalant way about him, but he's quite intelligent as well. So there's that sort of feel of everything. He knows all the eyes are on him, and then he does particular things because he knows the eyes are on him. And I just feel like, as Dana White says, some people have the it factor, and he has it.
Yeah, exactly. But like, can we just overlook Marlon Vera here, or is it, or what are you thinking? Do you think, or is it just
look? I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be very, very tough to put away, but I think he will be put away. I think O'Malley's ability to gauge the distance and his ability to get in and out on his strikes, I think that's what's going to really get the job done. If I was Marlon Vera here, I'd probably go in with more of a wrestling base, and I'd try and take him down and see if he can get the job done on the ground. I feel like Sean O'Malley's stand-up is better than his ground game, and I'd want to play Sean O'Malley where he's worse.
Sean O'Malley is actually so tall as well for that division as well.
Very, very long.
Yeah. So we're going Sean O'Malley then?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to win TKO round 2.
Good show. I think so as well. It's hopefully it does go into round 2, because like when you're watching it, you want it to last longer. You're just like, whoa, everything he throws is just so original and exciting. But in the main event for us, the champion Stipe Miocic is taking on Daniel Cormier for the 3rd time, if you haven't already said. Have you been watching the build-ups, the build-up for these on the embeddeds or the countdown as well?
Yeah, Stipe looks in the best shape I've ever seen him in. He looks slimmer, he looks stronger, he looks great.
Yeah, he does look great, doesn't he?
Yeah, and it's almost making me question how, because if you asked me 2 months ago, I would have said DC definitely to win, and I would have been very certain over. But seeing Stipe in this like great shape, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I think if I was 90% sure Daniel Cormier was going to win, I'm probably down to about 60% chance or certainty Daniel Cormier is going to win. Also, like hearing like DC's like training out of his house, and he's like created his own little bubble, as opposed to I feel like Steve being a firefighter is out with the public anyway, so I think he'd be less judged if he had multiple training partners in the octagon and in the practice room with him.
Well, if you're looking at that, Ross, just let me interrupt there. Who's Stipe going to get in to train with him in Cleveland? Whereas on the UFC countdown, DC was training with Cain Velasquez.
Yeah, I know in the past Stipe was training with Curtis Blades. I don't know if he still trains with him, but maybe someone like that. I'm not 100% too sure who Stipe's training partners are. I don't feel like Stipe's ever had like that famous training partners. But look, at the end of the day, these two are going to show up in Vegas, UFC 252. It's going to be the main event. It's going to be Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier 3. It's the trilogy, and the winner's going to leave the GOAT, the greatest heavyweight of all time. Baz, who is going to win it, and how are they getting it done?
Like, as you said beforehand, watching the embeddeds and the countdown, it made it seem like Stipe looks really, really good. But in the first fight, Cormier won. The second fight, Cormier, I think, won the first 3 rounds in my eyes, and sort of ragdolled him a bit. And then got caught. He looked a bit tired then when he got knocked out. And like Stipe said himself, it took him 18 minutes to find his feet. But I don't really believe that. I think Cormier sort of just gassed a bit. So I'd have to go with Cormier. And like, if this is meant to be Cormier's last ever fight, he's going to want to go out with a bang, especially winning so much. Whereas I don't know if how much longer is Stipe going to hang around as well. I don't know if he's going to be sticking around long either.
Yeah, my personal take on it is, like I said, I do fancy Daniel Cormier to win this fight. I agree with you. He won the first fight, knockout in the first round. Second fight, he was winning that fight. He got tired. He forgot to bring his wrestling shoes. He forgot that he was an Olympic level wrestler, and he just decided to do it on the feet. I think it's because he knocked him out on the feet in the first round. I think he thought he'd be able to, or in the first fight, he'd be able to do it again. And the next thing you know, Stipe Miocic started going to the body, and those body shots were both beautiful and horrific for Daniel Cormier to take in. They were vicious, and Stipe Miocic got the job done. If you look at the 2 fights as a whole, I think on average the 2 fights are about 23 minutes in total. Daniel Cormier was winning 20 minutes of those fights. That's why I think he's going to get the job done here. He can take down Stipe Miocic whenever he wants. That's the level of wrestler Daniel Cormier is. I think he will take him down a bit, especially in the first 2 rounds. Take him down quite a bit, get him tired, and then finish him on the feet in the third.
Yeah, you did mention as well, he wasn't able to train wrestling in the build-up to the last fight as well because of his back. So I suppose now all systems are go for both guys, so you'd have to favour Daniel Cormier as well.
And tell me this, who's retiring on Saturday night? Are any of them retiring on Saturday night?
Yeah, Sean O'Malley.
If Daniel Cormier wins, does he retire or does he go fight John Jones?
You could bring up the Brock Lesnar thing again. Could bring up the John Jones thing again. I think Daniel Cormier wants to retire in front of a packed stadium or an arena, not just in a quiet with a whimper. But like, you don't always get the send off you really want. Some people want to leave with a win. Some people leave with a loss.
Would it not be absolutely epic to see Daniel Cormier fight John Jones in the Apex and like be able to hear what they're saying to each other?
Yeah. Or else
I do feel like Daniel Cormier wouldn't fight Ngannou.
Oh my god! Look, if he gets an early win, why not go again? I don't know. I mean, these lads are fighters for life.
Yeah, they are. And look, Stipe, he's still working with the fire department. He's doing his thing. Uh,
So like love, like
the, the glove. This is the power of the picks. The glove is.
the glove is
Um,
spoken.
I know. I think Daniel Cormier is in a much better position to retire than Stipe is in terms of like doing a show with Ariel Hawani now. He's on ESPN, just the commentary. Like Stipe just did a bit of firefighting, so I don't think Stipe is going to retire, especially if he's making 600 or 700 grand every fight.
Mm,
That's too good money to be turning down.
I know. But like, are people really clamoring to see Stipe Miocic? Really, I don't really think so. I know, I know the winner of this is the GOAT in the heavyweight division, but still, not a lot of people like that. Like, I know the diehard fans obviously know Stipe
Mm.
Miocic, but like, there's sort of not many other people do really.
Yeah, I think it's from personality standpoint, no one's dying to see him do an interview, and I think like that's such a massive thing in the sport. If you can give a good interview, it makes you so much more popular, and
Yeah,
like
but
that's why
remember
people love Sean O'Malley and they love Daniel Cormier, and you know obviously they love Conor McGregor. They give you those sort of one lines. Stipe sort of just is almost like he was media trained just to say the most uncontroversial thing of all time.
yeah, but like that could be from doing his job, like a very 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 well respected job from the community,
Mm.
being a firefighter. So he's not going to be like saying like "fuck your mum" and all this sort of shit. You know what I mean? When he's there saving cats and people from burning buildings. You know, obviously firefighters do more than that, but you know what I mean. But
Mm.
I don't really know if you can get more out of him. He's almost like in that Demetrius Johnson complex where if people aren't going to be as interested, like the UFC are making the thumbnail Sean O'Malley more than making him Stipe Miocic. And do you know what? Like I remember he won the title, and then Cleveland won the NBA, and he got to go celebrate with everyone. He was really like
He was part of the
celebrated.
parade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then once he lost the title, they almost turned their back on him in a way.
I don't know if I go as far as say they turn their back on him, but I'm sure a lot less people are getting photos of him in Cleveland than are dying to see his next fight, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But one thing that is also a bit strange in the trilogy for Stipe Miocic is that Stipe Miocic will now fight Daniel Cormier 3 times in a row. I don't think anyone in the UFC history has ever fought the same person 3 times in a row.
I actually wasn't aware of that because Cormier, remember, he wanted the
He
Brock
fought
Lesnar
Derek
fight, and
Lewis.
he fought
He
Derek
fought
Lewis.
Derek. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Stipe Miocic is going to fight someone 3 times in a row. I don't think that's ever happened in UFC, let alone for the title each time.
Do we make the prediction now? What happens next, or is that what you want to do on next week's show? I forget which way you were doing that.
No, we have to make a prediction who's going to win the fight, but in terms of, well, I'll put it this way: I predict Daniel Cormier is going to win, and I predict he will not retire.
Yeah, I think Daniel Cormier is going to win.
And will he
And
retire?
I think he could retire, but then be like, I'm coming back. Like Conor McGregor's retired 3 times now, you know?
Yeah, I think probably higher chance that you're right that he makes some form of retirement speech and then gets the itch.
Yeah, then gets the
Back,
itch. But
lads.
yeah, when crowds are allowed back in.
Yeah, because I'm sure he'd love to do his retirement fight in Louisiana.
Yeah, why not?
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so we're all saying I'm saying we're both saying Sean O'Malley and Daniel Cormier wins in the main event and co-main event of UFC 252. Check it out this Saturday night live from the Apex, Las Vegas, Nevada. Be there or be square.
Yeah. Just two other things to go over quickly as well before we wrap things up in boxing. Our good mate John O'Carroll is taking on Hughes. It says here on the card today, Wednesday the 12th. That's going down. And also this weekend on Saturday night, they've wet your whistle before UFC. Carl Frampton's fighting Darren Trainer it's a junior lightweight contender fight, and Micah Conlon is fighting against Sofian Takut. in a featherweight contender fight. That's going down in the BT studio in London. That's this Saturday as well. So like there's loads of action going down, Ross.
Yeah, there is. Combat sports is really kicking on, and we're probably not far away now from Katie Taylor having her fight as well.
Yeah, Katie Taylor, 22nd of August, and also Cage Warriors announced it's coming back as well. Shout out to Ian Gary. He's going to be fighting on that Friday, the 25th of September.
Yeah, he's fighting Jordan McManus. He's going to knock him out.
Yeah. So that wraps it up. Anything else to say?
No, guys. Thanks a million for watching. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and as always,
Stay
energized.